Welcome in, one and all. My name is Regan, aka Pink Demon. How you going? I'm doing pretty well. I recently attended my 500th gig. There's a video up about it. It's a bit of a vlog. It's about an hour long. Put it on while you clean the house, but don't put it on right now because you're watching this video. And in this video, we're going to be talking about the new Hellripper album, Coronach. And that's probably already pronounced wrong, alright? There's a lot of Scottish Gaelic in this album, and I'm going to pronounce it wrong. Okay, the red hair is genetic. Language comprehension isn't genetic. So you're just gonna have to put up with me. I apologize to Hellripper. I apologize to anyone who speaks Gaelic, Scottish, Irish, or otherwise. I'm gonna try my best, but my best isn't very good. Anyway, Hellripper. I believe Connor put me onto this band with their last album called Warlocks, Grim and Withered Hags, which is just a sick name for an album. Hellripper's a sick name for a band, alright? You're already getting points of that. It is, out of the gate, an absolute fucking riff storm, alright? Extreme risk of air guitaring and enthusiastic headbanging, especially if you're in like the bathroom mirror or behind the wheel of your car and you're driving. It is just infectious masterpiece guitar work. Spoiler alert for the rest of the review, I love it. But before we get into that, you know I love to talk about album art. It is good, and it is good. This awesome kind of bog, swampy lands with these spirits in the water, this massive goat creature that's as big as the mountains poking out from behind the hill. Just the brushwork of it too. I don't know a lot about the fine arts of painting and whatnot, but just the swirls and the sky and stuff. It reminds me a lot of Van Gogh. The bottom half of the image doesn't, and it's cool to see the styles blended, especially when you've got kind of less of that in the more physical material world things. So like the mountains and the water and the ground are all very realistic compared to this swirling sky and these wraiths and this giant goat creature, which is where it gets a bit more, like I said, swirling and distorted, I guess. It's a really cool contrast. So, A plus artwork, I love it. Let's get into the album. And this album is exactly what black and thrash, melodic black metal, I believe it's a one-man band, so when I say he, I'm referring to the entire band. I believe it's what he calls speed metal. I've always been a bit iffy on speed metal as a genre. I'm like, isn't this just thrash? But whatever, that's a whole argument in itself. I'm not getting into it. But what this is this is a lesson to every metal musician on how to cut all the boring crap from your album. Because there is just not a wasted second in this. It is absolutely stuffed with just good riff. And as a result, it just sticks with you as well. The second track, King Carl? King Chow? Goatcraft and Granite. It's an absolute earworm. I've been humming it while I'm not listening to anything. I've been humming it while I'm listening to podcasts. I've even hummed it while listening to other songs and be like, you know what? I think I might go put that Hellripper album back on. It is constantly drawing me back to it. And if you go look at the album, the track listing, you're gonna be like, look at all those song lengths. Regan, you hate long songs. I don't mind long songs when there's not a wasted second in there. They absolutely maximize their minutes. And because of that, this 44-minute album feels like sub 30. It just tears by at full speed. And then I'll go listen to something else for a bit. I'm like, you know what? That Hellripper album, it passed by so quickly and so pleasantly, I might give it another spin. Like, this is getting multiple spins a day from me because it's just so easy and good and fun to listen to. And I think a large part of that is because the songs don't get tired, and they don't get tired because they have velocity. And now I want everyone to think back to their high school physics classes. What's velocity? It's speed and it's direction. These songs all have direction. They go somewhere, they do something. They don't just stagnate and kind of repeat verse, chorus, verse, whatever for the entire song. They're moving towards something. And I don't feel as though the whole album is one piece that in itself is moving towards something. I still think they're all separate songs, so, I'm not getting that whole concept album. There are little bits that I'm picking up that kind of tie it thematically, but, it just shows that you don't have to have a concept album telling an arcing story to feel like songs are progressing. You just have a song that doesn't repeat on itself to the point of getting tired. I think one of the reasons I'm really hot on this as well is that there are other bands of comparable sounds and comparable styles that I like, but have never put out a full start to finish album that I love. You know, stuff like Beelzebub's King of Asgard, great singles, and every time I get the album, there's just a lot of filler track in there. And I think Hellripper is kind of the first in that sphere to me that I've picked up, and I'm like, there's no filler in here. It's great. Even like the worst song on this album is still a good song. And if you have to ask, that's probably Sculptor's Cave, but I wouldn't cut it. Even though you could cut 4 minutes out of this and still call it a good album, I wouldn't cut it. It's a good song. And as I've said in past reviews, the reason I think they are good songs is because they're drawing from a lot of sources of inspiration. You know, black metal so often just recycled riffs from a very incestuous genre, but this is pulling from so many styles. Yeah, the title track has this awesome section where it literally switches from like a Judas Priest riff to an Iron Maiden riff. Again, everything pushed through this blackened filter. It's just a million times more interesting than the fucking 666 millionth Gorgoroth clone that you can find on Bandcamp. And that's that old school speed metal style coming hot, always rooted in the 80s where all the legends are. Yeah, it's taken a lot of the best parts of those 80s and then transforming it into something very modern as well. It brings in a lot of modern elements. You know, stuff like the kind of two-steppy riff at the end of Mortician, like, makes me want to just get in the pit and start cleaning up. Ask anyone who saw me at Party Vibes the other week what a good two-step riff will do to an old dog like me. Off the leash. But those modern sections are then mixed in with, like I said, the best parts of the 80s and the 90s as well, because you got to remember that, you know, black metal really picked up in the second wave in the 90s, and it's got a lot of that in there too. It's got all this speed metal, thrash metal stuff that would fit anywhere comfortably, you know, in the range of Metallica's first 4 albums. But then you've got these black metal influences, you know, there's some really theatrical moments in there that remind me a lot of Cradle of Filth, which probably isn't surprising geographically if they're an influence. Yeah, that was in Waltz of the Damned. Bavonsif, I want to try and pronounce that. Either way, there's also a great deal of technicality in the guitar work, probably leaning on something more like an Emperor. But then when it picks up the pace and the intensity, it's probably more something like an Immortal. And I wouldn't say at any point it directly sounds like any of those, but you just really get a good feel that this guy listens to a lot of great bands and knows how to mix them together without just cut and pasting parts of their songs into his. And then outside of all of that, there's also just elements that are, you know, you wouldn't call metal at all. Like there's this really kind of bouncy riff in Black Satanic Fuckstorm. I think I pronounced that one correctly. And, you know, it just lasts a couple bars, but that's how you use spice. You just put a little bit in there to kind of highlight, you know, you don't want to overpower the rest of the meal, but he's really just spiced up the songs with little sections like that. And I'm a huge sucker for that, you know, that's the type of stuff that drew me to favorite bands like Hybrid Nightmares in their early material. So I think overall it just crafts this image in my head of a musician who is one foot firmly planted in his roots, in his past, but the other foot is pointing forward and moving forward in the direction of modern metal. And personally, I think that's where metal's at its best. So much, it is a genre that is very nostalgic for its peak in the 80s, but it's also got a lot of potential, so I love to hear metal that is rooted in the 80s, but not entombed in it. And then what makes it from great to amazing is that he just does all that without it spreading thin. It does a lot, but it's all very balanced, and it never reaches itself too far outside of its sphere of what it's doing to feel thin and feel like it's trying to do too much. And I touched on it a bit only, but not only is it musically rooted in, you know, the past and history, thematically it is as well. I was trying to look up pronunciations of some of these song titles, and I began to realize that they're all very much rooted in Scottish mythology. King Carl is the war cry of the McBean clan, which the one member of Hellripper is James McBean, so that's his, you know, his heritage war cry. That's really awesome. Balvan Sif, I assume it's a Balvan like Siobhan. Oh, here we go, it's on my screen now. Balvan She. It's a type of like vampire fairy from the Scottish Highlands. kind of like a succubus, seduces men. Hunderprest, which translates into dog priest, is a 12th century Scottish legend about a sinful chaplain who hunted with his hounds and came back as a vampire. Coronach, the album name, is a Scottish funeral dirge traditionally played on the bagpipes at wakes. Mortician is a old word for a horse disease that we now call glanders. I don't have a horse anymore, so I don't know about that one. But that is to say, they are all very much rooted in Scotland's history and folklore and its past. And I think that's, giving a really nice thematic basing as well. I think there's a rich well to draw from there. And it's very rewarding to go look into this and, look up the song titles and lyrics. But before I wrap up, there's something that is bugging me about this album. The opening of the first track, Hunderprest, is so familiar. Every time I hear it, I think that I've heard it before in another song. But every time I go looking for that song, I can't find it. Every time I'm like, oh, I think I got it, I put on the song I'm thinking of, and it's not. It's similar but different. But I swear I've heard another song start the exact same way Hunderprest starts. So I'm putting a little bounty out there. If you can find that song that is on the tip of my tongue that I can't put my finger on, and you can send it to me, and I'm like, that's the one, that's what I was thinking of, I will send you one of the pink Daemon logo hats, alright? Because it's bugging me. I love this album, but every time the first 3 seconds of it just makes me mad, because I'm like, what song am I thinking of? So I don't know, maybe you'll listen to it and you'll be like, oh, I know the one, and send it through to me. And because it's in my sphere, it's very likely that it could just be an Australian metal song from a Melbourne band, and no one will know it because, God, it could even be a band that's no longer around anymore. I don't know. But hey, if you hear it, and that's a good excuse to go listen to the album. I'm not trying to bait you into listening to the album, but it's a great album. You should listen to it. This is a good excuse to do that. If you hear it and you think you know the song, let me know. And if you can alleviate me of this burden, I will send you a cool hat. How about that? But that's my review of Coronach by Hellripper. It is a great album. If you're into thrash metal, if you're into black metal, I think even if you're into thrash metal and you're not into extreme metal like black metal, this won't be off-putting to you. It's not particularly harsh in the vocals. It is a black metal vocal style, but it's not particularly like shrieky or grating to listen to. So I think even if you're not super into black metal, but you love your thrash and your speed metal and your fast metal, give this a shot. I think you might like it. And if you do, let me know. If you check it out and it's not for you, let me know either way, because commenting on my posts really helps me out, as does liking and subscribing. So if you enjoyed this and you want more album reviews, like and subscribe. I put up at least one a week, so there'll never be a shortage of content here. And once again, I've got my 500th gig vlog up. Really recommend checking that out. It's a nice video. I get pretty emotional about it. I talk about how much I love my friends and the scene and whatnot. Go check that one out if you've got time to kill. Other than that, until next time, peace out.